What time is it? It's 8:40. All right, cool.
All right, so we're going live here. Welcome to episode 4 of the Practical Pivot Show. I'm your host, Sean Flack 2.0, and with me via satellite is my co host, Mike.
Yep. What's up? How y'all doing?
So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about why are we okay with a single source of income. And but before we get into that, just want to kind of talk about what's new with us. So, Mike, you got anything new going on with you right now this past week?
Nothing really new. Today was pretty interesting at work, you know.
We ain't here to talk about work.
I'm just saying. Nah, no, no, hold
Nothing
on.
interesting happened. Oh, go
No,
ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
it is. But here's why. Here's why though.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Because
ahead.
I was kind of stressed out, you know, and it put a lot of stuff in perspective. I'll put it like that. I was like, man, just kind of you had those days where you start really reflecting on stuff like, okay, maybe I
Right.
need to pay more attention to this or pay more attention to that in order to make some changes, not saying I'm gonna leave my job, but I mean,
Oh yeah, for
just
sure.
I just need to focus on other stuff too.
Okay. All right. For me, no, I ain't gonna lie, nothing new. Work is work, and I'm not here to talk about that. A couple things I decided this week is I decided that I was gonna start a writing project that hopefully turns into a little child's book. So that's what's new for me this week, and we'll see how that goes.
Interesting.
Yeah. We'll
Man.
talk about more on that offline because we had talked about
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to just start off the episodes with like, well, what's going on, and kind of going off the previous episode, like, what are we doing to make, what do we want our life to look like, and what steps are we doing to make that happen? So I kind of want to start off this episode with a little, what are we doing this week? And so, if you are new to the show and you go ahead and check out the previous episode, episode 3, and we talked a lot about that in episode 3. Okay, so on today's episode, so why are we okay with a single source of income? And I believe, Mike, you're going to go ahead and start off the conversation. So, what you got for us?
Well, as Sean put it, and as most of us are, the question is just why are we okay with a single source of income? And we just meaning, the majority of people. I guess I don't want to make too much of a generalization, but overall, it seems like people are content with just a single source of income, having a quote unquote good job or whatever it is that's providing you income. A lot of people seem to be okay with that. And I just think it's interesting, especially with a lot of things that's been going on lately. It just made me kind of question it, like, man, what is it that gets us comfortable if we do get a quote unquote good job that we ride it out and we sit there and we go collect our check, go home, rinse and repeat. And with the stability, what I don't even want to say stability because it's really almost a false sense of security because at any moment you can lose your job. At any
Right,
moment you can lose that one source of income. And I
right.
just think it's funny that, investors or other people will tell you, oh, you must diversify, don't have all your money here, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But when it comes to work, it's not even really talked about. It's like you go to work, you come home, and you have that single source of income. So, yeah, my question was just like, why are we okay with that? Why is it acceptable to have the good job or just a job and that be it?
Okay.
It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power that the employer has over you when you really are dependent on just that one check. So, yeah, that's the question for today.
Okay, well, let's go with what I was thinking about because you gave it to us a little earlier this week. And I want to say, especially for me, and again, personal experience here, is that that's how we're trained. You know, I think in one of our previous episodes we talked about education, and we talked about like the mind frame of somebody that wants to work harder versus somebody that wants to work smarter. So obviously, me growing up, my dad, he was born in like 1929, so he had me later on in life. But his generation was work hard, and your hard work is going to pay off, and that's it.
Hmm.
There was no other thought process of other sources of income besides what you can make with your own two hands, or what you could do with your own two hands, or your own hard work, your own blood, sweat, and tears. Now, you asked that question. That was the answer that immediately popped up to my head, and I would have to say, society is built that way. What is that? You go to school, you get a good education, you get a good job, you make a lot of money, and just like what you just said, rinse and repeat. I want to say that the majority of us are, um, I don't want to say indoctrinated, it's another word, but we are like geared or trained or conditioned to be workers, for the majority of us. For the minority of us, those are the ones that are getting that extra education of, well, how does the system work? And then what can I do to let the system work for me instead of me work for the system? So I
Mm.
think that's where, um, I think that's why, me personally, why I'm okay with, or, as we're doing this journey thing, it made me think about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's all I've ever known. Like you couldn't tell me anything different because I was never taught anything different. So
Right.
you
Right.
know that would be where that's how I would answer that question. Why I'm okay with just working, because that's all I was really taught, and I wasn't really my mind wasn't really opened into other things other than somebody wanting to take my money and have them use it, for them. Like we just kind of talked about investors. Like investors want you to invest your money with them so they could use it to invest in stuff, and then you have somewhat of a return, you know, um, but not the rest of the system. It was very vague. So, not knowing, you're kind of scared. And so, yeah, I mean, we're just conditioned to be workers, is how I feel about that question.
Mm. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, it's interesting to me that I believe when I first asked it, you used the word train. Train condition. I like that. I think it's interesting because I mean it's true, right? It's not too many teachers when you go through school that are saying, hey, don't worry about getting a good job. Work at having 4 or 5 different hustles. You know,
Right.
so I think it's real interesting that you use the word train
Or
or
I think, I
condition.
think, I think conditioned was, I think the word I was really looking for was we're conditioned for that.
Right, right,
And and we could go into another episode about how I feel about that, just because of the fact that in order to have rich people, you have to have poor people, and in order, like, there has to be somebody that works. Like not everybody can be rich,
right.
and I just feel like for the majority, they're just like, we need workers, so we're only going to give you a certain level of training, and then anything after that, it's you know whatever you do on your own.
Yeah,
So,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, no, I was done. I was done.
Yeah, no, it was really scary to me, man, as I was watching actually on YouTube. It was like a I don't know, like a 3 or 4 minute video from Vice that was talking about the government shutdown and just how the workers were handling it. And everybody's situation is different, right? So some people
Mhm.
were, a couple of people were stressed out, like, oh, I don't know when I'm gonna be able to do this or do that. And a couple of the people they had interviewed were like, oh, I just go with the flow, you just have to adjust, adapt. And, all are true, just depending on what the person's individual situation is. But I'm sitting there and I was like, wow, like if that were me, if I was in that position right now, like really, what would I do?
Mhm.
If your single source of income just shut down right now, if you only had that single source of income, what what would you do? we obviously you should have some sort of emergency fund set aside that you can live off of for situations like that. But that's not the case with everybody. A lot of people, especially here in this country, that loves debt, and we spend, we spend, we spend. A lot of
Right,
people are paycheck to paycheck, and you
right.
cut one or two of them off. I mean, it's a wrap. It's a real
Yeah,
stressful situation to be in.
yeah, yeah. Two, what is it? The average is about two paychecks away from bankruptcy.
Is that
So
what it is now?
yeah, about I
Wow.
mean, that's the last I had a conversation about it is the average American,
Yeah.
is about two paychecks away from bankruptcy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's scary, man. So with that said, how do you sort of to I don't know, change your mindset to focus on like, okay, well, I'm at a place or I'm at a point in my life now where I see that this isn't really good for me. I see that solely depending on this job or this one source of income is is something that I need to change. I need to start thinking about four or five different sources of income because like right now, if you were to go to let's say a brokerage firm and say, "Hey, I have X amount of dollars to invest. I want to put it all in this single stock." They
Hmm.
would look at you like you lost your mind.
Right.
It's like, so you want to put your every dollar that you have, or possibly, let's say, your entire net worth, you want to put it all in this one stock.
You want to
They would
gamble
look
on
at you
one
like
thing.
you are crazy, huh?
Right. Yeah, yeah. You gamble it all on, you gamble it all on one thing.
Right, right. And the first thing they would say is, like, yeah, you need to diversify. So my thing is, why don't we feel that way about income? Why
Now,
is it
to
just about
answer,
investments?
I, you know what? For me to answer that question, I mean, goes back to the education piece. Most of us play this like American dream game and don't know the rules. I mean, I just recently think that they just did like this adulting class recently where we live here in the Bay Area, how they're teaching kids how to balance your checkbook and things like that. There isn't really that much education beyond in like finance unless you go to college for it. Um, but there isn't that much education in that. And then of course we look at opportunity. Like how much opportunity, um, or how many different types of opportunities do you have to make or to have a second type of income? I guess the first thing would be to ask that question you asked. Why are we okay with it? The second thing would be, okay, well, we need to educate ourselves more on this topic, which I hope today's episode will be going over some cool stuff. But then the next thing would be, well, what type of opportunities are available for us to make additional money without using additional time? Because we did talk about time being a non replenishable resource, right? So, well, what if my hustles were like in the daytime I flip burgers, and nighttime, I work at the docks, right?
Well,
What does that work?
I guess I would say that that's not really. I would say that that's not really a hustle. I mean, that's more just selling more time.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's cool to work multiple jobs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like saying that it isn't. But if you already have, if you're already in one situation where you're selling time, like we are right now,
Right.
you might want to put some energy into thinking of a way that you can sort of. I don't want to say get passive income because everybody says that, and it's not something that's just like this easy thing to obtain, right? You have to put time in until you're able to get to a place to maybe where it is truly passive income.
Right.
But that might be something you want to work on is, trying to start a business, trying to make some sort of creative content that may be able to generate some sort of revenue. Even if it was only, I don't know, $50 or $75 a month, it's still something, right?
Right.
Um,
So then, if I'm sorry to cut you off, but I kind of want to ask this question. What are some ideas? Like you said, kind of like two of them already, like start a business or have something creative or whatever. So, I mean, what are some other opportunities for quote unquote passive or residual or extra income do you think's available?
Well, here's this is funny you said that because I was gonna pose this challenge to you later
Okay.
today. But no, this is gonna sound silly, but you know, you and I both buy stuff or have purchased things that just sit, right?
Right.
So I'm sure that you probably have, I don't know, let's say $250 worth of stuff that you're not using that's just sitting there,
Right.
right? You could be selling that. Throw it on Craigslist, throw it on OfferUp, whatever. Let go. All those, there's tons of things, eBay, a ton of things right now that we could just start selling stuff. And my challenge to you was going to be for next month, for the month of this month is more than halfway over with at this point. But take one bill that you might have. It can be a lower bill, maybe something $50, around $50, $60, whatever,
Hmm.
and pay for it without money coming out of your check.
So you want me to go hoe? Is that what you want me to do? You want me to go sell some ass or something? Luckily, this is explicit. I think it's explicit, but okay. Hey, okay. Hey, you know
No,
what?
but
Yeah,
no, but
I get it.
in all seriousness, I can guarantee you that you have something right now or a few things right now that you could go sell. And I'm not saying have a full blown garage sale, right? But just
Well, I was just about to make a little thing about that your president had told these furloughed employees to go do to make ends meet is to have a garage. I was gonna make fun of that, but I decided not to. But
yeah, nah, that was
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
no garage sales.
we're not gonna even go there. But no,
Okay,
I mean, seriously though, the thing is, it's like it's always some extra money that you could get. And I mean, how easy is it if it's something that you already own that you don't even use?
right. I, I mean, I could look now, like where I'm standing, and just for the folks listening to the show, you'll notice my camera is not on right now because I'm standing in my garage recording today because of some stuff happening. And I can look around in my garage right now and look at a couple things I could sell.
Right. So I mean, there's some extra money right there that you don't even have to touch money coming out of your check,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Um,
Okay. Now, are
but
you going to partake in this challenge?
yeah, absolutely. I'll
Okay.
pick a bill. I mean, and we can talk about it, but I'll pick one or two bills and post some stuff, on
Okay.
you know, eBay, Craigslist, something. I'll choose something
Okay.
and,
Sounds
and
good.
pay
Okay.
for it.
Then. Okay. I will take you up on your challenge to pay for a bill with money that's not coming out of my check.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't mean nothing. I mean, I know, $8.99 bill,
Oh, right, right, right. I mean, something that's
not your
gonna cost
Netflix
something,
bill.
right, right. Something that's gonna be somewhat substantial of some sort.
I mean, I say at least over $50,
Okay.
you know,
Or what about two bills that are more than that?
that's fine.
You know what I'm saying? I think my insurance for the dog's $40. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
if I want to meet your challenge, I'm gonna have to add $10 to that. So
Okay. That'll work. That'll
all
work.
right, cool. No, so kind of like to answer my question, is because I kind of every time we have this conversation, you always say something like, "Oh yeah, I want to start a business or something like that," or "I want to be somewhere else and make money."
Hmm.
So I guess one realization that I had as we're having this discussion, I was like, man, if you start a business, you'll probably be working more owning that business and trying to run it than if you just worked and didn't own.
Absolutely. At least initially, absolutely. I agree
Right.
with that 110%.
So besides, you know, besides owning a business, what are some other ideas? Okay, so we talked about a garage sale, like selling some old stuff on eBay or, maybe you said Craigslist or, OfferUp or, what is it, Facebook Marketplace. What are
Hmm.
some other ideas that would be readily available to us in order to generate some extra income. So, and I know this is selling time again, but I guess one of the things that I had in my head was like become like a Uber driver or a Lyft driver where you're more flexible about selling or giving your time for that money. Would that qualify? Would you qualify that or?
Yeah, I mean, it's making money. I'm not saying, like I'm definitely not gonna say anything negative about it because it's no, I mean, seriously, like, it's nothing it's that's cool. Like, make money. If if you wanna have 2 or 3 jobs, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. My point was just simply, at some point, you're gonna run out of time.
Right. And that's where I was kind of going with that question.
Yeah, so
Okay. So
I
what would be one of your suggestions that doesn't require you selling time that you would give to one of the people that are listening to this?
okay, well, I'll just and I wasn't even gonna put it out there all like that, but, like, I am trying to do something on the creative side as well.
Okay.
Um, you know, that well, in the children's space, right? And then, like you
Okay.
said, we can talk about it offline because you and I have talked about it.
Right.
And, yeah, I'm getting close to finishing that up.
Okay.
I had stopped before because I wasn't completely satisfied with, what I had received, and,
Okay.
but it was my own fault because I had approved it and yada, yada, yada. But anyway,
Okay.
long
Well,
story short,
an
I'm
IP,
right,
basically, I guess.
exactly.
Right. Okay.
I'm back on that, so I'm gonna
Okay.
try to do that and make that happen.
Okay.
Um, aside from that, like, and I think I might have mentioned this before, maybe 2 or 3, um, episodes ago, but for me, my dream hustle would be to be an inventor and simply just come up with a few ideas that are pretty simple to do. And like there's this guy I listen to on YouTube all the time. His name is Stephen Key. Um, and the name of their channel is Invent Right TV.
Hmm.
And they give you a lot of little ways, a lot of little ideas, and I mean, really, they just give you a lot of game. They put you up on a lot of game as far as trying to get a licensing deal. So that's something that I want to explore too. But I'm kind of focused on this other thing first, because
Okay.
like I told you before, I'm like this year is about seeing stuff to completion.
Right.
So I don't want to get, spread too thin or start one thing and start another and not complete anything. So I'm
Right.
focused on one thing right now that I hope to have complete in the next several weeks. And then I'll move on to something else.
Okay. And that's what I guess that's what I want to pull out of you. Because we always talk about how to start a business, and I'm like, you know what? An IP. I think he's talking more of an IP. And if you don't know what IP, it's an intellectual property. So it could be something like a book, or it could be something like a movie idea, or something like that. That once you put it together and you put it out there, it'll kind of like if it picks up, it'll generate its own money without you having to do additional work. And I guess that's where I was going with, like, kind of leading with, oh well, what about Uber and what about working two jobs? And it's like, well, no, I think we're talking a little bit more creative, inventive for sure.
Hmm.
Um, and really kind of thinking outside of the box and not just thinking that when we mean hustle, we literally mean hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want any of our listeners to think that, like, oh, you just want us to have two jobs or three jobs. And it's like, no, no, no. Think outside the box. And I think, what is it? What is it called? Laziness is the mother of all invention. Like, maybe find something that you think is difficult and come up with something that'll make it more simple and then patent it. You know what I'm saying? Or like I said, my project thing is I'm hoping to eventually put together something that's going to write a book, and I was inspired by something that happened in my life. So,
Hmm.
that's why I'm very passionate, and I wanted to figure out a way I could put it out there. And then it was suggested to me to why don't you just write a book? And so, and of course, with me and you having these conversations, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, and I'll shoot some ideas. Again, we'll do that offline. But, again, I think the message with this episode is about thinking about that question, taking it seriously, and then retraining your brain, retraining the culture or rethinking what America is about. Because my dad, he told me America is not land of the free, it's a land of opportunity. Now, if you
Hmm.
decide to take it or not is going to be up to you. And there's always opportunity. You just really have to find it. You have to change your mentality and how you want to. I don't want to work forever. I want to retire at 45, which ain't that many years away from now. And how can I do that? Um, and there are, it's so easy now to get yourself out there as far as like musically. We're doing our show the way we're doing it. Writing a book or putting together a script or something like that. It's so easy to put something together nowadays, and with technology, um, the opportunities that I see that I want to explore, and I'm sure Mike agrees with me, are the more creative, more inventive ones. It's not always, let me get this job or let me get that job or let me get this promotion and let me make more money by selling more of my time. I think the message for this episode is about rethinking how you think about your income. And just like what he said, if somebody that is quote unquote smarter than you won't let you invest your money into one thing, he's going to tell you to diversify. Why don't we apply that same thought process to the way we make money? So I thought it was a great question that you brought up, Mike, and it really was thought provoking for me. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, I just, um, we talk about many things, obviously off air, right? But
Yeah.
for me, money and having multiple source of income is just so important, and it's something that I really want to focus on this year because just that power, and this was kind of touched in the wage slave too, right? But
Yes, it was.
but just that power that an employer can have over you or anybody, and the lack of freedom that you have to just get up and go, or to make moves as you feel fit for you and your family is it's not cool, man. It's just not, though. Like,
Right.
I really want to have that freedom. I really want to have the ability to just take control of my life. And so having multiple streams of income, or where if I lose one of them, okay, well, maybe that one was only provide me 15 to 20% of what my overall gross is for that month. It's a lot less damaging than if that was my sole source of income.
Right.
So
All
that's what we
right.
need to focus on, man.
Right. 2019. My hashtag is new year, new content. And that just means more than just what we're doing. But I want to definitely follow my passion. And if that passion leads to more money, so be it. Right.
Right. Right.
All right. So that's about all the time we have for today's episode. I think we ran a little long. We did get a little bit of a later start than we want to. Before we take off on today's show, just want to say go ahead and check out, if you like this content and others like it. We have our previous episode. Mike mentioned the wage slave. That's episode 2. Check that out. A very, very good opening and transition of what our message is here. Um, you can hit us up on Twitter. It's at Practical Pivot. If you could go to seanflack.com, there's links to Practical Pivot. I'm also doing my Dad's Life podcast that's linked there, and also I have another YouTube that's also linked there as well. You can check out all of our content that we're working on together and as solo projects, I guess, as well. That's all I basically got. Mike, you got any final thoughts or anything about this topic or today's episode?
Yeah, I'll just say this, we by no stretch of the imagination are experts on anything. We're just trying to figure it out. That's really the point of this show for us, is just to ask the questions, kind of talk through it, and come up with ways that we can make these small transitions in our life to get the goals that we want. So again, in no way do we claim to know it all. It's more
No,
just
not at all.
about, yeah, it's more just about just trying to figure it out, man. Trying to figure it out. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with you. We're just like the average American. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to, you know, better ourselves, better our families, just like every other American, no matter what you are, who you are, where you live. We're just trying to figure it out as well. All right, so thank you everybody for listening. Again, follow us at on Twitter at Practical Pivot. You hit that, it's going to hit both me and Mike. Got any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts? Don't be afraid to hit us there. And until the next episode, we will talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.